Sebelumnya saya SVP of Growth di freelancer.com. So maybe I'm here to just share a little bit about bootstrap versus VC funding gitu ya. Kalau di freelancer itu pas saya masih mulai sama bos saya itu semuanya bootstrap, right? There's a pros and there's a cons. Kalau di BukaLapak ya, we have a few investments which I'll share later. So I started my career istilahnya itu setelah tamat. I thought I want to do something different. So I decided to, I decided to join this company called Freelancer. Itu pas waktu itu cuma dua founder and sama saya. Freelancer.com itu mirip seperti BukaLapak cuma buat service. So if you want to have hire developer, ya post di websitenya, and then someone from India or someone from Bangladesh and Pakistan would bid on the projects. It was pretty popular in Bangladesh or Pakistan. I think in Bangladesh we were top 10 websites visited during the 2012 era. It was totally bootstrapped. We didn't receive any funding. The beauty of that then means there's no dilution, right? Which means we can do a lot of stuff at our own pace. But then we realized that we are too slow, and that's why we went public. So 3 years later, after we founded the company, we went public in ASX, the Australian Stock Exchange, under ticker FLN. It was pretty successful at the time. We were the darling of the tech in Australia. Kalau nggak salah, we were the third highest opening in FLN with about $800 million valuation, so sekitar 8 triliun rupiah. So 2 years later, 5 years after we started the company, I decided to leave and join BukaLapak. Again, the best thing about this is that we managed to get to $75 million in revenue into a year, and about $2 billion in GMV. So that was pretty successful. Now I want to share a little bit about what bootstrap means in this case, right? Basically, even when we went public, we only released 7.5% of the shares, right? It is not that liquid, but it's okay. The volume of trading is still okay. What is good about it is that we have a lot of control, right? So basically, we can make decisions as we like. But what is so good about going public is that we have the pressure to always deliver on a 6-monthly basis. So when we think about company, we always think about revenue, right? Whereas in BukaLapak, revenue might be secondary. We have a few other metrics that I'll share, right? Karena istilahnya kan masih land grab ya, so you try to grab as many customers as you can. So going public while being bootstrapped really allows us to do a lot of stuff. While we go public, one thing is that it actually gives us a way to give stock to our people, to our employees, right? So, and as a result, then when we give people stocks by the way, stocks, we have 2 options, ESOP and RSU. Again, ESOP is employee stock option scheme, so when they give you an option to exercise to buy the shares at that same valuation. So whatever the increase, then you make the money of that. And that means that people will start coming to the company while we give them stock. So when the company grows, then we grow together, right? And the ability to say, hey, we are $800 million company, come and work for us, really works very well, right? And really, to be honest, that's why we went public. We didn't need the money. We had $20 million in the bank. That's how much we raised. But now I can sell my shares, right? And now my people can sell my shares, right? Can sell the shares, right? This is very different from, say, getting money from VC because it's not as liquid as public company. So that went pretty well. And the valuation in a public company, fortunately enough, in ASX, people don't look at EBITDA as much, right? So the valuation of the company is still looking at growth and the revenue. So whatever revenue at trading times 20 or whatever. So again, this really allows me to actually understand how bootstrap works and what the benefit of the bootstrap is. So fast forward to BukaLapak, kita ke VC. again, difference-nya apa? It allows us to grow faster with VC coming in, right? If I have to choose which one? Yeah, of course I want the VC money so that we can grow faster, so that we can win, right? So maybe our investors a little bit is Ant Financials. Jadi tadi udah di-share itu Alipay, one of our investors is Ant Financial, GIC, which is a Singaporean sovereign fund with about $500 million fund. KFK itu MTEX digital fund. And the best thing about that as well is that, while you get a lot from this is all strategic investment. So what that means is basically I get a lot of help from these guys, right? Now, back step to freelancer, I didn't get a lot of help, right? So what I did was that instead I made a lot of friends in Silicon Valley, so that I get to know what's going on there, so I get to learn, right? Now, how I grow business is very different, right? Okay, you guys probably know Zaki, yeah? Zaki, my CEO. CEO is very visionary, right? Zaki is very visionary. How I grow business is very different. I like to copy stuff. So whenever it works, I'll copy it fast, right? And I think this is why the complementary between both of us, right? Zaki is very visionary, and I'm like, whatever works, I'll just do it, right? So I think that's why, we both are quite good complement with each other. So having said that, now I can talk to all these investors that have already done it, right? Especially Ali, right? I can say, hey, what do you think about this? And then they say, hey, maybe you should do it this way. In that case, I get a lot of shortcuts to get to the growth of where we are. So that's the beauty of it. Now, the not so beautiful of it is that, well, then you are diluting, right? So that means we do not own the majority of the shares anymore. Now, that comes with, obviously, perks and the cons. So far, we've done pretty well. We are processing about 800,000 daily transactions with over $4 billion in GMV annualized. So, so it has worked so far. Revenue is doing well, although we are still burning money. Yeah. So market cap looks good, but money is still burned. So that's something that we're trying to, hopefully in the next 1 or 2 years, we could get a lot more balance between the bottom line and the top line. So that's really about freelancer and Buka. I want to share just a little bit about, hopefully it gives some clarity about what the difference between bootstrap and getting money. Now, my role is very different. I'm not a founder. I do not like being a founder because I don't want to go through the pain of starting a company. I like just going in there and grow it, right? And that's what I did with Freelancer. Freelancer started 6 months, and then I joined, and then I managed to grow the revenue a lot higher after that, and using some principles that I will share later. It's the same principles that I applied at Buka as well for the last 2 years. Has anyone heard of this term? Yeah. Yes, good. It's one thing that I always keep true to myself, how I run the company. So as COO of BukaLapak, I run a lot of the operations side of the thing. I run a lot of the product development, marketing, data, and so on, right? But I always think about how to run company as these 5 things, right? So acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referrals. And to be honest, when I map, so we run in a tribe basis and squad basis. So what that means is that in squad, then you can move independently. Inside one squad, you have your product manager, you have a couple of engineers, you have a couple of QA, whatever you need to essentially to go and perform your specific mission, right? To go and increase that specific metric. So we have a lot of squads, and inside that squad we do tribes. So it's very similar to Spotify style. What that allows me is that I manage to put, then I'll be able to put these squads into this framework of these 5, and then it gives me a lot of clarity. Right? So when you're in the first stage of a company, try to build MVP, right? So I feel like a lot of my friends have actually gone through this where they think that the MVP is not enough for the MVP. So that's one advice I would give to people, is that just build it, right? Whether you know the product is good, it's not by talking to 3 people, right? Whether you know the product is good, it's just test it, right? So that comes the acquisition strategy, right? So you do whatever it takes to just get users to use your product, right? And that is what was good at Freelancer. Now, Freelancer is not the best product in the world. It's actually pretty bad. But we managed to keep the acquisition channel part, right? So we managed to always, so in acquisition channel, goes a little bit to marketing. You always try to find the channels early on, right? Because that's what we call law of bad interest. Sorry, law of bad click-throughs. What that means is that if you find the channel early on and no one else has found it, then that you will get the best ROI. Right? So in Freelancer, I grew through Facebook because I managed to get the user at 5 cents, right? 5 cents, right? Right now, I could not, I'll be lucky if I can get $1 a click, right? Why? Because everyone else is using that Facebook as a channel already, right? So I have a lot of people in the team of BukaLapak just trying to figure out what is the next acquisition channel? Where's the next acquisition channel, right? And there's a lot of failure in that, but when you find there's a good one, then you double down on it, you triple down on it, and so on. So that is what I would focus on if I were in the early stage of a company. And the second one is obviously activation, right? And we have a team called Buyer Experience, where the whole focus is to make sure, once you're in the website, we want you to buy, right? And there's a lot of like things that you can do. For example, once you're in the website, we want you to buy. So if you buy a lot smaller, if you buy faster, then the chance of you coming back and buy again would be a lot more, right? So there's a lot of, and I'll talk a little bit about that, about correlation and causation. So activation is about activating it. What makes it tick so that they will come back again, right? So in BukaLapak, we're lucky enough that when someone purchases a product, they will end up purchasing a lot more, right? So that's what you call negative churn rate. I know there was a video called churn rate. Basically, BukaLapak, is lucky enough to be a negative churn product. Basically, is at the moment, if you buy one time, and then they'll always keep buying. So that's good for us. And then retention, right? That goes to your activation and then retention, which means how many times you're coming back. That's where you track the retention rate and so on. And then the fourth one, which is something that not a lot of unicorns are focused on, unfortunately, right now, is the revenue. So how I think about BukaLapak is very different. I think about it as a traffic generator, right? We think about BukaLapak as a mall, right? So you build whatever it takes to make sure that, it works. You build whatever it takes to make sure that you get as many users. How you find revenue is a totally different tribe, what we call a different squad. So that means, they will go on and find how to make revenue of users. Referrals is another one where you invite users and then they go on and invite other people. That works very well for us. That accounts for 20% of our acquisition channels. Another thing, correlation and causation. Again, this really helps me in running companies, is that I can always ask the data scientist to find, well, what are the correlations between metrics? And these metrics, we really use that as insights, and then we A/B test it for causations, yeah? So, case in point, what we like to do is, always find correlation. Like, oh, if people chat with that buyer, and if that buyer replies within 1 minute, what do you think the conversion rate would be, right? And then we find that data, and oh, that's highly correlated, so they have to chat within 5 seconds, right? And now with that insight, what I can do is to get people to come online a lot faster. And when someone tries to chat to the buyer, when someone tries to chat with the seller, then we try to get them to reply really fast, right? And as a result, the conversion rate increases. That's one step, right? So there's a lot of correlation between metrics that you could use for causation. So again, this is very, I guess, granular way of like looking at conversion rate and so on. I talked about this already a little bit. But if I have to choose, of course, I'll choose VC, which means I can grow faster, right? Bootstrap is just another way of doing it when we don't have money from VC, which is in Australia in general, by the way. Australia is not lucky enough as Indonesia, right? Australia has 25 million people, right? And really, when you try to serve Australian customers, really 8 million people that you're looking at, right? 5 million in Sydney and 3 million in Melbourne, and then the other 17 spread across continents that are 5 times of Indonesia, right? So it's not very fun in Australia, but it actually trains us to be very globally thinking, right? So a lot of the Australian unicorns, like Freelancer, Canva, and so on, right? They tend to be very global because that's how we should do it to survive. There's no local companies as a result of that. People, obviously it's very important. I spend about half of my time going around Australia, US. We're lucky enough to be able to get people from Amazon and those to work for us. So I spend a lot of time to make sure we get the best people. We're lucky enough to get a lot of people from Bain to help us with our strategy and so on. I forgot what I wanted to say about pitching. Oh yeah, one tip that when you guys pitch, right? And this is a tip that I got from my CSO, so I thought I'll share a little bit. You always have a list of VCs, right? So try to order them by how much you like them, right? And then because when you pitch, you always you will learn how to pitch better, right? I know, Anthony already said how to. Here's what you need to put, but really you have to train, right? You have to practice how to pitch. So the best way is that try to order by, okay, this is the guy that I don't like the most, and try to pitch to him, because then you learn, and then you keep going and going to the one that you like. Right? And then in that case, then you can learn. That's one tip that I learned from my CSO training. And hopefully, yeah, Anthony's VC is at the bottom, right? One of the people I like. All right, that's it from me. Thank you very much.